Hello knitters, and welcome to the channel. In this video, I'm going to guide you through knitting a pair of the most ordinary simple socks on needles, the kind of socks your grandmother probably knitted. If you've ever wanted to learn the classic way, or maybe just need a refresher, you're in the right place. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. There are already so many sock tutorials out there. What new information could you possibly offer? And I have a few answers for that. First, I'm making this video for myself to document all the little tips and tricks I've worked out. There's an old saying that the best way to truly learn something is to explain it to someone else, and I find that's always true. Second, every knitter develops their own unique methods. I'm not a master sock knitter by any means. I only started this year, but I've found a recipe that works for me, combining tips from others with my own discoveries, and I want to share that with you. This pair of socks is a size 36 and it was knitted from Regia yarn, which has 420 meters per 100 grams. This other pair of socks was knitted from Alize Artisan, which is also 420 meters per 100 grams. The yarns have identical yardage and composition, but the Regia is a little stiffer, and you can even see that in how this sock behaves. The Alize Artisan is softer and more airy. The fabric itself even turned out a bit looser. In this video, we'll be knitting these pink light colored socks, but you can use the same recipe, the same template, the sequence of rounds, the stitch counts, all of it, for any other sock yarn with the exact same specifications. So let's get started. For this project, I'll need yarn. I'm using Artisan. Here are its specs. It's a sock yarn, and I'm choosing my tools for it. I have 2mm needles from Knit Pro. I don't knit tightly, and I don't knit loosely. I have an average tension. To be honest, I'd even use smaller needles, but I don't have any smaller, so I'm using the 2mm ones. I'll also need a few stitch markers for the socks. This is a necessary tool. We'll be using them to mark rounds and stitches. Since I already have one sock finished, I'm trying to match the color sections here, so I'm unwinding a bit from the beginning of the skein. Next, on the needles, I need to cast on 60 stitches. I need a number of stitches that is divisible by 4 to distribute them onto 4 needles. 60 is divisible by 4. Now look at how I cast on. The tail end goes around my thumb. Here it is. And the working yarn comes from my index finger. I'm using a standard long tail cast on, casting on with the working yarn, 60 stitches. I don't divide the stitches onto 4 needles during the cast on. I cast everything onto one pair of needles and distribute the stitches afterwards. The stitches are cast on, and now they can be divided onto 4 needles, with 15 stitches on each needle. One more stitch, the 61st, for joining in the round, and then I'll move on to knitting the first round. And watch, now I join the round. I take the first stitch from the left needle, transfer it to the right needle, and pass the 61st stitch, which is on the right needle, over that stitch. I slip it off and tighten the yarn. I return the stitch to the left needle. And now I'll knit the ribbing. I'll be knitting a 2x2 rib, which is 2 knit stitches, 2 purl stitches. And I'll start with 2 knit stitches. 1, 2, 2 purl stitches. I knit purl stitches in the classic method and will be explaining everything for classic style knitting. I will work 20 rounds of this ribbing. One round is a full circle across all 4 needles. I've knitted 20 rounds and the ribbing is done. This part is finished. Next, I'll knit this part. Here I have 24 rounds. How many rounds should you knit in total? For me, the leg The straight part and the cuff combined is 44 rounds, and I have the same number of rounds here after the gusset and before the start of the toe. So approximately, if you fold the sock like this, the length of the leg, in my opinion of course, should be the same as the length of the foot up to the toe shaping. Next comes the straight part. This is even simpler. Here I knit all stitches. Let's start the transition to knit stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me place a marker on the first stitch I've knitted. This will be the first stitch. And one small clarification. If you're afraid of making a mistake somewhere, I'll just knit to the end of the round. One more small clarification on how to count rounds in the ribbing. I count the full columns of V's from the very edge. Here is my first column. 1, 2, 19, 20. I don't count the stitch that's on the needle as a round. So below the stitches on the needles, I have 20 rounds, which means I've knitted 20 rounds. Now I'm placing a marker here. I've placed it on the first round that I knitted in stockinette, and from now on I will count from it. So I knit all stitches on all needles, and I'll knit 24 rounds this way. Alright, I've knitted 24 rounds of just knit stitches. We count the rounds here the same way. The marker is on the first round, the first column of V's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. The round that is on the needles, these stitches, we don't count. So exactly 24 rounds have been knitted. If you forgot to place a marker, you can start counting from the first column of V's. Look, here's the purl bump from the ribbing, and here is the first column of V's. And you can start counting from there. This is just information so you don't get lost. And now I'll start knitting the heel. I'll be knitting the heel on the first and second needles. Needles generally have numbers, first, second, third, fourth, starting from the beginning of the round. Here it is, and the needles are numbered in the direction of knitting. On my first and second needles, I have 15 stitches each for a total of 30. And now I'll just knit back and forth in stockinette stitch. I'll knit 30 rows, first row, first and second needles, all knit stitches. And now the next row, I turn the work and go in the opposite direction. Second and first needles, all purl stitches. I slip the first edge stitch without knitting it, and then I start purling. I purl using the classic method, and naturally I'll be explaining it for the classic knitting method. The second needle is done, and now the first. Again, all purl stitches. I knit the last stitch, but you can do it your way. I'm used to knitting it. I have 30 stitches on the needles for the heel, which means I need to knit 30 rows. If you have a different number of stitches, you knit that many rows. The dependency here is very simple. You need to knit an even number of rows. It will be an even number for you because you are using 2 needles. And again, slip the first stitch and knit the last stitch. Here along the edge, I need to form a chain selvage. Pay attention to this. I'm not making a garter stitch edge, I'm making a chain selvage. Okay, we've just finished row 3, let's move on to row 4. Anyway, continue knitting like this on your own. I'll meet you back when it's done and show you how to count the rows. "30 rows are done." How do you count the rows here if you've lost track? We count the edge stitches on the right side. This is my first edge stitch. It's clearly separated by a different colour, just how the yarn fell. How to find it? Here's the stitch on the needle, right? The yarn comes from it and goes into the first edge stitch. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I have 15 edge stitches and the 16th is on the needle. We don't count that one. 15 is half of 30, so everything is correct. Now I'll start shaping the heel itself. I'm going to knit a French heel or a horseshoe heel, and look what's needed for that. I'll need 2 markers for the heel. The number of stitches on the 2 needles for the heel for me is 30. This number is for determining the center of the heel. I divide it by 6, which is 5. So I take 1/6 of that number, which is 5, and round it down to the nearest even number. This means I need to mark 4 stitches in the center. Okay, to be precise, I'm using a locking stitch marker. I count 2 stitches and then I clip the marker directly onto the 3rd stitch itself. Then I do the exact same thing on the other side. And now I start knitting the horseshoe or French heel. I knit the first needle completely as usual, slip the first stitch, then knit all stitches. The principle here will be short row knitting. I'll probably just use 2 needles and leave the other one, it'll be more convenient for me. So I'm switching to the 2nd needle. Here I knit the 2 center stitches. I knit the 3rd and 4th stitches together to the right, see? I just did a regular knit 2 together. And it turns out to be a decrease that leans to the right. I knit the next stitch as well. And at this point I stop. I turn the work. I'm now knitting in the other direction. That was the first short row. Slip the first stitch, then purl, 2 more purls. I'm using the markers as a guide, they're on the other side, but I can still see everything. 2 more purls. And next, I need to purl 2 together, but if I just purl them together normally, the decrease will lean to the right. I'd have a right leaning decrease here and a right leaning one on the other side. I need this one to lean left. I'll slip them. I knit classic style. Again, if you knit continental, your left and right leaning decreases might be different. You'll have to watch that for yourself. And like this, from underneath, I insert the needle. I insert the needle into these 2 stitches and I purl them together. I purl the next stitch as well. I turn the work. Here's my decrease on the purl side. See, it leans toward the center of the heel, and here's the decrease on the knit side. From the previous row, it also leans toward the center of the heel. It's not super critical here. The main thing is to be symmetrical. If you start making them all lean toward the center, then keep doing that. If you start making them all lean away from the center, then do that. Next again, slip the first stitch and knit across 5, 6. And look, I'm reaching a gap. This was the turning stitch from the previous row, and here's the stitch after it. This is the end of the previous short row, and now I need to close this gap. I close it. Naturally with a knit 2 together, again it leans toward the center of the heel, so it leans to the right. And I knit the next stitch normally. Turn again. In the work, this little gap will now always be clearly visible. You won't get confused anymore. And again, I purl all stitches up to the gap, slip the first stitch, purl up to the gap. Here it is. 1 stitch remains. I need to purl it together with the stitch after the gap. The only thing is I need to reorient the stitch after the gap. If you knit continental, you might not need to reorient this stitch, right? Or maybe you do. I don't knit continental. I don't know, I can't say. And I purl 2 together. And the next stitch, purl, turn. And I check again. The stitch is leaning toward the center of the heel. Both decreases are leaning toward the center. Again, slip the first stitch and work with knits again. I reach the gap, knit 2 together and the next stitch, knit it normally, turn the work again, and it's all the same. Slip the first and work with purls. So, and this stitch I just slip it, but the next one I reorient. I return the stitch to the needle, I return the edge stitch to the needle as well, and now I close this gap, purl 2 together, tighten it, and the next one also purl, turn the work, and in this way you need to work until you reach the outermost stitches. Again, knit stitches. So we are knitting all the stitches. Here's the gap again. Knit 2 together. The next one also knit. Here, pull the stitches a little tighter at the turning point so it's not loose. Slip 1 and work with purls. Again, I reach the gap. Reorient the stitch, return the edge stitch, and purl the stitch and the edge stitch together. Purl the stitch after it. These are short rows, which look are forming that very horseshoe heel. Again, a knit row, I'm working with knit stitches. Knit 2 together, and the next one also knit. And again in the opposite direction. Now I'm working with purl stitches. Again, I reach the gap, reorient the stitch, return the edge stitch to the left needle, and purl the stitch and the edge stitch together, and purl the stitch after them. Again, a knit row, slip the first stitch, knit the stitches, I reach the gap again, knit 2 together, and I knit the last stitch. It's the edge stitch, and the return row, this will be the last row of the heel shaping, purl stitches. I reach the edge stitch, the stitch after it, reorient, return the edge stitch to the left needle, purl 2 together, and I'll knit the last edge stitch. And with that, I've finished knitting the heel itself. Here on the needle I have 18 stitches left. I started with 30, now I have 18, which means we've decreased 12 stitches, 6 on each side. You can check and count this, right? Here they are, 1K2 together, 2K2 together, 3K2 together, 4, 5, 6. And it will be the same on the other side. If you started with a different number of stitches, you'll have a different number remaining, and you might have a different number of decreases here. Next, I need to knit across this needle in this direction, right? Pick up stitches along this side edge. Continue knitting on the 3rd and 4th needles. Pick up stitches along the other side edge again and return to this point. First, about the stitches for the side edge. I'll pick them up here and here. I'll pick them up right away before we get there. Look, I'm always catastrophically short on needles here. If you have another set of the same needles, use it. If you have, for example, like me, a 2mm circular needle, use that too. It will just be more convenient. I will try to explain everything using 5 needles so that no one tells me you promised 5 needles, but it turns out you need a bunch more. So I'll try not to drop all these stitches, but for convenience, I'll tell you using a 6th needle is not forbidden. So first I pick up stitches along the edge stitches. I take a needle and I grab the edge closest to me. And from each edge stitch, from its front loop, I pick up a stitch like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. I picked up 15 stitches from the edge, and that's correct. And now let's start knitting this section. This section is called the gusset, right? We're now going to form the gussets on one side and the other and work decreases on them. So I take another remaining needle and knit all the stitches. The last edge stitch is also knitted. And then I move on to knitting these picked up stitches. Here, look, there's often a problem with holes forming, and you can really get giant holes here if I just start knitting them like this. How can I show you? Let me do it like this. One by one, knitting each stitch, you'd get giant holes. Our goal is to make it neat and tidy. Look, on my previous sock, this is the spot we're knitting now. There are no holes to be seen here. See, everything is dense, beautiful, and neat. How I handle this spot, I do it like this. I'll start now. I knit 2 edge stitches together, like this. But I only slip 1 stitch off the needle. I leave the second one. That's 1. Again, knit 2 edge stitches together, but I only slip off the first one. That's 2. Again, knit 2 together, slip 1 off. That's 3. That's 4. That's 5. That's 6. That's 7. That's 8. 9, 10, 11, okay, put that back, 12, 13, 14, and look, the 15th one, it's left alone, but I'll do a little trick. I'll pick up a stitch, the previous one, right? So it's not technically an edge stitch, it comes from the knitting, but I'll pick it up too, and I'll make the 15th stitch from it, like that. I've picked up the side stitches. Next, another tricky spot. If I just continue knitting, there will be a hole here. So another place that requires attention requires some solution. Here from the bar between stitches, I pick up and knit a twisted stitch. Basically, I just place it on the needle. And now I'll knit this stitch twisted. And look how to orient yourself here. I already told you that since we're doing everything towards the heel, we stick to that principle everywhere. I made my decreases lean towards the center of the heel. And here too, this twisted stitch should lean towards the heel. So I twist it to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And I now have, this is my third needle, 16 stitches. This is all correct, all fine. We'll decrease this later, okay? Here, basically, I do the exact same thing. Again, first I knit all the stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And the 16th stitch I again pick up from the bar between stitches. I place it on the left needle like this, and now it should lean to the left. So I knit it twisted to the left. See? It leans left. And on the fourth needle, I also now have 16 stitches. I'll show you this spot on the finished sock. Right here is the twisted stitch. To prevent a hole from forming here, we add one twisted stitch picked up from the bar. And now I need to pick up stitches along the remaining side edge. I act in the exact same way. The main thing here, is not to mix up which loops we're picking up. We pick up the loops closest to us. The first stitch I pick up is the one whose yarn comes directly from the twisted stitch. That's the one I'm picking up now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. That's correct. You might say 16, and I'll say yes, that's correct. Next, we do the exact same thing, but naturally, I'm running out of needles. I wish I had 6. Oh well, I'll take this needle and knit on it. Again, I knit 2 together at a time. So again, 2 together, knit tightly here. You only need to slip off 1, leave the second. Here again, 2 together. Look, I slip off the first, leave the second. Again, 2 together, slip the first, leave the second. 2 together. Well, or if they slip off like this, then like this. Slip the first, leave the second. 2 together. So, 2 together. Slip the first, leave the second. You have to knit tightly with the second one. Again, 2 together. I return the second one. Again, 2 together. 2 together. And here are the last 2 together. Now let's count how many stitches. This twisted one, this is still a stitch from the 4th needle, and all the rest here are stitches. These are the stitches picked up from the side part. So that's 15 stitches picked up. That's correct. There should be 15. We started with 15 stitches on each needle, and on the sides, there should also be 15. Again, if you started with a different number, you'll have that number. The only place where it became 16 stitches is the 3rd and 4th needle. But we'll fix that now. And now I switch back to knitting all stitches. I'm knitting all stitches. Here I need to somehow correctly distribute the stitches on the needles. To to return them to how they were. Let's try to do that in this round. So I'm moving to the side part, and look how I knit here. I first knit all the stitches, leaving the last stitch, or rather, I don't knit it. See how it turns out? No holes. Everything is very harmonious, beautiful, and neat. To be honest, I like this method the most. I haven't seen anyone else show it. That's why I decided to show you. So I leave the last stitch. And look, I'll transfer it carefully onto the next needle. And this stitch and the first stitch on the next needle, I'll just knit them two together. Again, the decrease leans toward the center of the heel. Okay, next. I remember I have 15 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, all correct. Now the next needle, there are so many stitches on it. Knitting, 15 stitches, 1, 15 knits, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I could really use another needle here. Oh well. And next, 2 together, but these 2 together must lean to the left. So I do it as a slip, slip, knit, slip the first, knit the second, pass the slipped stitch over the second one. And then I knit all the side stitches normally, so. And so another round, I will be making decreases along the edges here. I'm going to redistribute the stitches on the needles correctly now. The way I need them, I'll be making decreases at the edges. But I don't make the decreases in every round, but in every other round to get this gusset shaping. Here they are. I make the decrease toward the center of the heel. And to get this kind of gusset, you do it not in every round, but every other round. Again, one round with a decrease, the next one is plain. I've distributed the needles and stitches on them as is convenient for me, right? So the center is here at the center of the heel, and the side part we're now decreasing with half of the heel stitches, then the other side part with the other half of the heel stitches, and the third and fourth needles again have exactly 15 stitches each. This will be more convenient. So the next round is a plain round, a simple round without decreases. So here I just knit all stitches, I'm not making any decreases. Let's meet in the next round. Now for the next round with decreases, there will be a decrease here and a decrease here. Pay attention, the beginning of the round is generally where my green marker is. I haven't removed it, so this needle is the first needle. But mentally, while I'm doing the gusset, I'll move the beginning of the round here to the center of the heel. It'll be easier to think about where I need to make a decrease and where I don't. So this is now the third round of the gusset, and here I make a decrease. I first knit all the stitches, and at the end, I again do a knit 2 together, of course. A knit 2 together that leans right. And here they are, the last 2 stitches. I knit them 2 together to the right and tighten everything up here. Next, the third and fourth needles are just knitted plain. Nothing is added to them. There are 15 stitches on the third and fourth needles. Okay, that's the third needle. and the fourth needle. And then to finish the round, it will be the first needle. And the first needle will start with a knit 2 together that leans left. Okay, let's take it. Slip the first, knit the second, and pass the slipped stitch over the second one. There's the decrease, AK2 together left, and then again, I knit all stitches. This was the third round, an odd numbered round where I made decreases. The fourth round will be a regular round without decreases. And so I alternate odd and even rounds, odd and even rounds. That is a round with decreases, a round without decreases. Until what point I'll finish this and explain. I alternate until I have 15 stitches on the first and second needles. That's the magic number I need to return to. Right now I have 23 stitches on each needle, and with these rounds decreasing every other round in every odd numbered round, I should get back to 15, so I will have 15 stitches on each needle and I will be back to my original cast on of 60. So continue working like this on your own and we'll meet back there and I'll show you what to do next. So I've knitted the gussets. Here they are on one side, here's the second one, and I've returned to the value of 15 stitches on each needle. So here's 15 now. Here's also 15 and on the third and fourth as well. So a total of 60, which is the number I cast on. And now I'm moving on to knitting plain rounds in a circle. There will be no more decreases here. I'm knitting 15 stitches on each needle. Look, my first needle is already knitted because I remind you that the beginning of the round is here, where the tail is, where the green marker is. So I've knitted the first needle, and on the first needle, the last decrease for the gusset was made. So I knit the second needle, the third and the fourth, and then I'll knit the first and show you what to do next. So now I'm knitting the first needle, all knit stitches. And this will be considered the first round. This will now be the foot. My foot section has 44 rounds. That's the number I calculated for myself. I remind you, I'm a size 36. It might be a little long for me. This same number might work for, say, up to a size 38. The first needle, the first round of the foot is knitted, and on it, look, it's the very stitch that comes after the decreases. Here are the decreases, and right here on this stitch, this will be the first stitch and the first round. I'm placing a marker. In total, I need to knit 44 rounds without decreases before the toe. That is, I just knit without decreases or increases. I count from this stitch. I placed it there on purpose. See, it's the first one knitted. I count this as 1. The stitch that is currently on the needle, I don't count. And that's how I orient myself. So when I have 44 columns of V's, including the one with the marker, I'll stop there. There I'll start telling you how to make a toe like this. This is called a ribbon toe. Anyway, we'll meet back there. I'll show you how to make the ribbon toe and then how to graft it together so beautifully and neatly with the Kitchener stitch. I'm counting the round marked with the marker as the first round. I'm counting every column of V's. The stitches on the needles are not included in the count. So from this point to the marker is 44 rounds. And then I start making the ribbon toe. Let's also take a measurement. Look, the finished sock and the one I'm still knitting. In the finished sock, the foot length is about probably 22 to 23.5 centimeters, but it stretches. And here, where should I stop? around 19 to 19.5 centimeters, I think, is what I've knitted, so about 4 centimeters short of my desired foot length. But you also have to account for the fact that after washing, after blocking, the sock will increase a little in length by about a centimeter. Anyway, for myself, I chose the number 44. I'll be honest, it's a little long for me, but that's not a problem at all. Okay, that's all about size. Now I'll start making the toe itself. I'm stopping right on the first needle, and the toe decreases will start on the first needle. I work as follows here. Knit 1 stitch, then K2 together, but I make this K2 together, lean left towards the heel. Same way. Slip 1, knit the next, and pass a slipped stitch over the knitted one, like that. So there's a K2 together and it leans left towards the heel. Then I knit all the remaining stitches. This will be the first needle. Now for the second needle. Here I knit until there are 3 stitches left at the end of the needle. I have 3 stitches left. Here I do a K2 together to the right. Again, the decrease leans toward the center of the heel. Here is the center of the heel, and the decrease points towards it. So it's a right leaning decrease. And the next stitch is a knit. And then we repeat the same on the third and fourth needles. 1 knit, K2 together left. All the rest of the stitches are knit. This will be the third needle and the fourth needle. Knit all stitches, leaving 3 at the end. Knit 2 together to the right and 1 knit stitch. And so we have knitted the first round of the toe. Next, the second round. Here I just knit all stitches without any decreases. So I only make decreases on the odd numbered rounds every other round. Please knit all stitches on all 4 needles on your own. Let's meet back here. So I've knitted the second round of the toe. It was without decreases. Next is the third round. It will have decreases again. Everything is the same here. 1 knit stitch. This is the first needle. Then knit 2 together left, all knit stitches. The second needle will be the opposite. All knit stitches, then knit 2 together right, 1 knit stitch. And the third needle is the same as the first, and the fourth needle is the same as the second. This will be the third round. The fourth round, accordingly, will again be without decreases. And in this way, I alternate rounds with and without decreases. I will do a total of 4 such pairs of rounds, so that will be 8 rounds. We'll meet back on the 9th round and I'll show you what to do next. I've knitted 8 rounds, making decreases every other round on each odd numbered round, and thus I've decreased 4 stitches on each needle. I'm moving on to knitting rounds where there will be a decrease in every round, and I'll decrease another 4 stitches on each needle for a total of 8 stitches decreased on each side. How do you figure out the number of stitches you need to decrease? I started with 60 stitches in the round, which was 15 stitches on each needle. For the toe, I need to be left with the number of stitches I had on one needle, which is 15, but 15 is an odd number. I can't leave 15, so I reduce it to the nearest even number, which is 14. I need to end up with 14 stitches on one side and 14 stitches on the other, and that's why I'm decreasing 8 stitches on each side. If I decrease 8 stitches on each side, I'll be left with 14 stitches on each side. So look, it's all the same here. Now I'll knit 4 rounds where I make a decrease in every round. The principle is exactly the same. First needle, 1 knit, then K2 together left, all remaining stitches knit. Second needle, all stitches knit, then a right leaning decrease and 1 knit. The third needle is knitted like the first, the fourth needle is knitted like the second. And in this way, I decrease another 4 stitches. That's it, I've finished knitting the sock. I now have 7 stitches on each needle. I'm going to get rid of the second needle, meaning I'll just transfer the stitches from the second needle to the first. It will be easier to graft this way, and I'll also get rid of the 4th needle. I'll do the same thing. Tighten the yarn. Here's our sock. All that's left is to graft this toe. I'll be using the Kitchener stitch for live stitches here. I'll leave a tail of about 50 centimeters and take a darning needle like this with a large eye. I'll thread the tail into the needle and now I'll start grafting the toe. How do I do it? I fold my work like this. The yarn is coming from the side that's farther away from me. So I insert the needle into the stitch on the needle closer to me, like this, directing the needle away from you. And pull through. Now I go back into the stitch on the far needle, also directing the needle away from you. Like that. And pull through again. Now I go into this stitch on the front needle, directing the needle away from you and into the next stitch, directing it towards you. Pull through. Now I return to the stitch on the far needle, going in towards you. Then away from you. Pull through. Now the stitch I just slipped off. Go in away from you, then towards you. Pull through. On the back needle, towards you, then away from you. Pull through. Again on the front, away from you, towards you. Pull through. And on the back, towards you, then away from you. Pull through. Again, away from you, towards you. Pull through. See, the edges are closing. Here, towards you, then away from you. Pull through, away from you, towards you. Pull through and towards you, then away from you. Pull through. I continue working like this until all the stitches are gone. last stitches. And then, wait, there's one more stitch here. Wait, here it is, one more stitch. That's it. Now for the ends. I pull them to the wrong side. There are 2 ends in total. Let's be neat. I'm hiding it. I might not even, okay, I'll probably make a small, like this. Okay, that's it. I'll make a single inconspicuous knot, and then I'll just hide the yarn end with these kinds of chaotic stitches along the toe so that the yarn doesn't poke out to the right side, because my yarn has striped coloring, and here I have a red stripe, but the yarn I'm weaving in is already white. Anyway, I hide it with stitches. I run it along the toe like this, and then I trim it. During wear, the yarn will fluff up a bit and felt, and it won't go anywhere. And now the starting yarn, yes, I'll trim this grey section here too, and here I'll hide this yarn like this, down a column of knit stitches. So I bring the yarn to the wrong side. And with stitches like this, it definitely won't show up on the right side. Don't worry. You can even split the yarn a little. When you're picking it up, that's fine. It will all felt together anyway. It will felt even better that way. There, I've run it along the ribbing. Pull it out. Straighten it out so nothing is puckered, and trim it too. That's it. The sock is done. Now I'll remove the markers, wash it, and dry it. I've washed the socks, dried them, and look, this is the sock we knitted together. This is how it turned out. The second one was already finished. Let's take final measurements. The foot is approximately 23, maybe 22.5 centimeters, but they stretch wonderfully, and the height is 20, maybe 20.5 centimeters. The pattern diverged a little here for me. You see the toe ends with pink yarn here and white here. But I think this is less due to knitting inconsistencies, though that's part of it, but more that the colour sections in the skein are not perfectly, ideally, the same size. You can even see that the sections are slightly different, but in any case, I like how it turned out. I'm happy with this result. This is the little ball of yarn I have left after knitting the pair. I weighed it and it's 44 grams. So the socks themselves weigh 56 grams, which is a little more than half the skein. But from this skein, you could knit a third sock. You could knit some shorty socks, or you could do some kind of mix and knit, for example, socks from 2 types of yarn. I hope my video was useful to you. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thank you for your attention. Bye bye.